Sega Lindbergh Universal Cabinet Restoration Part 7 Overlay and Controls. So this is where we left off last time. Got the blank panel here, the full control panel all cleaned and ready to put the control panel overlay on and populate with the buttons. So using that control panel I did this, guess you'd call it a tracing. Sent that off to the artist, and the overall idea is to produce a control panel that looks like the original here, which we saw in an earlier video, with that komarebi background effect of the sun shining through the trees through that grid there. So what I did was I had a look online for some pictures, found a couple that are coming up here now that are kind of what I was going for. I couldn't find any free ones. That one's pretty vivid there, and that one there's a bit too many trees, so I ended up buying this one off some website for a few bucks. I like the sun rays and the cloud and the sky, so I flipped it upside down, cropped it to be about the same size as the control panel, and then left the rest up to Carsonet Noodle Shirt to make it grey like that, and then ultimately he produced this control panel for me. So there was a bit of work involved, a few revisions. You'll see the description there. If you look closely you can see the background changing. So now we're going to cut away to the live audio as I unwrap the new overlay. Okay, now let's have a look at the control panel I've had done. I've got two in here. A mirror finish of chrome and plain. Look at that. Beautiful. It's got the komarebi effect, light shining through the tree, which I sent to the artist. Let's lay it down and have a look. Looking pretty good. That's really good too. No complaints about that at all. Just compare that with an original here. It's only a one player. The top one's still a foil finish, but this is just a chrome, so just more reflective. Almost looks 3D through that mesh. It looks blue because it's reflecting off the sky. You change the angle to the clouds over here. Just gotta hope those holes line up. Alright, well here's my first effort at sticking down the overlay over the control panel on an overlay that doesn't have any holes in it. So all I've done is clamped the panel in the middle roughly of the overlay, and then just by laying this t-shirt over the top and then using earpods, just rubbing just gently different areas, different buttonholes, and that ends up giving me a pretty good feel. Yeah, pretty good feel where the holes are. Pretty happy with that. Lined up there. These ones are out by about 1 mil. But if I move it too far left, then these will be out here as well. Pretty happy though. So once I'm happy, I'm going to actually unstick one end and start peeling. The other option is I cut the holes now and then stick some buttons in there to hold it, but I don't want to cut the holes and then this moves. Alright, moment of truth. Stick it down. Get a bit of Dutch courage, calm the nerves. Okay, so all I'm doing here is cutting off a piece of paper at the back, sticking it down, and then it's pretty much in place. The plastic is not really flexible or stretchy, so you can afford to release those clamps there and just basically lower it down, just avoiding any bubbles, and just rub it with a cloth, just make sure it sticks. Not the best camera position obviously, but you get the idea. Once that paper was off, I could sort of push down on the overlay through the holes and it just sort of sunk in, and I was pretty confident that we were in the right spot. But I was pretty committed once I got to that point. But you can see it's looking really good there. Bit of a wipe down. Just pushing down those holes. That'll allow me to cut it better when the time comes. Okay, time to trim. I've never done this before. Someone's probably shouting at me. Thought about coming at it from the top, but I don't want the blade to plough into the powder coat. So I'm just going to have a run around the edge and see how we go. Okay. End of the day, it's just an arcade game. So there's a little bit of a proud edge there, but I think once it's sitting in the panel here, won't notice. Right, next up I'll cut some buttonholes. Stand by. Got the blade. I don't have the tool. But that's why we're a backyarder. Alright, we don't have to go for perfection here, but pretty happy with that. I'll get a button. Very nice. So with the cutting here, it was pretty easy. I just sort of sawed up and down, keep the blade as perpendicular as possible, otherwise it will sort of catch onto the metal or the powder coat. It didn't hurt me not having the actual handle for the hobby knife. It's a pretty easy process. Got a bit of room for mistakes because the button will cover it. And some of those holes that were already there had the little kind of keyhole in them, keyway, which was a bit hard to cut around. But it wasn't too bad. Here's the auxiliary buttons. That'll be L3, touch and R3, but I won't be using the touch button for the PlayStation. Trying out a few buttons there, or a few colour combinations. And I don't want to take buttons in and out too often because they do wear out with the little tabs on there, but I'm really happy with how that looked. And keep in mind those buttons are going to be backlit with an LED strip underneath, so it's really going to pop, and you'll see that in a later video. And then those top buttons are your PlayStation controller, select, PlayStation and start. And the blank is a turbo button if you were really keen to set that up. Here I'm just trying out a few of the lever sort of dust caps, shafts and ball tops. Not sort of committed to any one thing, but just a bit of fun to show you what I can do with what I've purchased. Have a look later in the videos and you'll see what I've come up with. That looks pretty cool. So now here we are just cutting out the USB plug holes. On the left there, they're going to be for headphones. You'll see the right is some switches, which is going to be, one isolates the auxiliary buttons and the other one switches between left stick direction pad and right stick inputs. I will be putting a volume knob in that very left one eventually, and you'll see there that the USB plugs don't quite sort of fit in the hole. I just had to file those out a bit just because the powder coat made them a press fit, but you'll see in a sec they look pretty good. They're screwed in from the back just through the existing threaded holes that we made, so they're nice and tight. Here's a picture of the finished product, looking really good, nice and flush. And then that very left sort of headphone spot, I just put in a volume button, just need a little washer there to protect the plastic. A few bits and pieces inside I'll show you later, but you can see the finished product here. It's starting to look really schmick. But that'll do us for the day. That was about 6 hours work, and it's worked out well. If you've got any comments or have any questions, feel free to leave them for me, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. 時間だ。